So to start off, we're going to be operating on top of the Civil 3D alignments which have already been created in the drawing. Now I'm going to head over to the Home tab here and display the Civil 3D tool space. The purpose of this is to show you that we have the Civil 3D alignments created on the left hand side here within Civil 3D, and all that Corridor Easy is doing is replicating that list. So this is basically a mirror image of all of your Civil 3D alignments. It's important that you don't go in and start to rename alignments or delete alignments as you begin operating Corridor Easy. Corridor Easy, for example, on Sydney Court down here, is going to be working on top of and using your Civil 3D alignment. So if you decide to go in and rename that alignment, Corridor Easy won't be able to find it anymore. Now we do have tools available to help with the renaming and other management of the string, but it's important that, you know, if you are going to delete that alignment, that you are aware if there is a string associated with Corridor Easy, that you use the proper deletion tools that we have available to you. You are able to edit the Civil 3D alignment, change its geometry, etc., and Corridor Easy is going to respect that and change the string as it's needed. You'll also note in here that we have a Civil 3D surface already created. We have to have at least one surface in the project before you can create any string. Okay, so in this case we have the existing surface already created. If there is no surface available, we will prompt you for a surface in the project. But really these are the prerequisites for starting Corridor Easy, that you have your alignments already drawn, or some of them at least drawn, and then you have at least as a minimum a surface in the background. So we're going to close down tool space here for Civil 3D, and we're going to head over to Sydney Court, which is the alignment that we're going to be looking to use for Corridor Easy for this particular first road. You'll notice that we actually highlight the Civil 3D alignment, which is one of the benefits of using our alignments list on the right hand side here in tool space. We're going to right click on Sydney Court and go create road. The template we're going to be using is a template we've actually created previously, which is 24-foot residential. You can see why the surface is important, because at this point any daylight or batters that are on our template would need something to project to, and if that is not available, then we won't have a surface. If there is no surface available, then we won't have our template working correctly. You can see, by the way, that these are generic hover graphics, which are basically showing you what this particular part of the form, or what it is that you're typing in, represents. So further down we have spacings. So the spacings are a generic 25 foot for a cross section, every 25 foot along the tangents, and then 25 foot on the arc segments. Don't be too concerned about the arc segments. If you've got very small radius values on your particular alignment, it doesn't matter. We will do some extra interpolation for those, but as a minimum we would go 25. In respect of operating Corridor Easy and getting started, really everything that's default would normally get everyone off the bat. So we're going to click OK at this point. Software will go ahead and do a couple of things. First of all, it will actually go ahead and display this form here, which is the vertical grading editor, which we're going to close. And in the drawing environment, we've now got line work appearing. Now, this line work is not a series of polylines or lines as sort of traditionally created by CAD. These objects have been created by Corridor Easy, and they are unique to Corridor Easy. So if I left click on this particular object, you'll notice that there are what we call grips appearing. If I right click here and just simply go properties, you'll notice that the object which has been drawn, in this case for the sidewalk inner, is actually a block. And the reason for this is that Corridor Easy is designed to create content very quickly. If we draw polylines or blocks or anything like that, or even attempt to create the corridor right now, the speed at which you can operate is very slow. So the intention with this is that you build your model and your road designs up incredibly quickly, and then you can begin to look at output of, say, polylines if you want to, or even the corridor. So this line work has been drawn. Where do we control its display? So to change the display of this line work and maybe turn it on or off, we're simply going to go to CSD Surfaces. Now if we expand CSD Surfaces, we can right click and click on Toggle Display. We'll talk about the surface that's been created here in a second, but we're going to go to the Models and Line Work tab. The Models and Line Work tab has a couple of options. Firstly, Fast Draw is checked on. Now if you check that box off and then click OK, we're basically turning off the line work for the string that was just created. If we head back, right click, toggle display, models and line work, we can turn that back on. The dynamic button basically says if we start to make edits to our design, such as maybe change the vertical design of the profile here, and that in turn changes the position of the daylights, well, we want all of that to update in the plan view. Unchecking that box would mean that it doesn't update until we actually manually go in and rebuild. We also have the option of creating CAD entities at the same time. So we can actually draw polylines of all of your line work, which will update as we go ahead and make changes to the design. However, we recommend you turn that on when you're looking for maybe plotting or delivery of content, just purely because of the fact that polylines are very process hungry, and the more content you've got in the drawing, the more polylines that have to be drawn, and the slower your project may be. For the time being, we're going to leave Fast Draw on and click OK. Now we're going to head over to Toolspace again. We're going to right click on Total Model this time, and we're going to toggle on and off contours, and that would automatically display contours for us of our road string surface. We can also right click and go toggle on triangles, and that will show us the triangulation of our surface. There are wider controls available for this, and if we right click on CSD surfaces again, we can go back to toggle display, and in there we can actually see for total model, which is the road string surface which has been created, we can toggle on and off the contours and also change the major and minor interval. To take this one step further by clicking OK, we can access the Surface Manager. We right click on CSD surfaces, click Surface Manager. In here you can see that our surface is available for viewing. We can also export and import surfaces using this particular feature. We'd recommend that if you're using Civil 3D, that if you are looking to import XML files, just do that through Civil 3D, not through the Surface Manager. But you can export this particular surface here as an XML file. Later on in the course, we'll actually be showing you how you can use one of the featured tools within Corridor Easy to export multiple Civil 3D surfaces or create multiple Civil 3D surfaces in one go. The important thing to note is is that you don't go to the Inputs tab and start to add additional CAD entities such as 3D faces, points, etc. to this surface. This surface is dynamic. It automatically updates and builds itself. We go to the Outputs tab, however, we can control, with more control than we've seen previously, different aspects such as the drawing of the mesh, which as you can see there has now been removed from the display, and also things like the contours can be changed in here, even the contour colors, which we haven't had available before. Contour labeling, slope arrows, heights and directions shading are all available within this particular form, meaning that we can very quickly turn on different analysis of our particular road model surface. We're going to click on Close to close the form. Now we've created our road string, let's have a look at how we can now begin to edit it.